Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles, and on this episode, we're going to do a Who Was Better. Now we're going to add a little wrinkle to it that we're going to get to at the end. If you were paying attention to the community page on my YouTube channel, you may have seen the poll, which will go into that. But basically what we're going to do, we're going to take two men for this. It's going to be Sting versus The Undertaker, and we're going to compare them in 8 different categories, plus one bonus category, which is new to this series, which let me know at the end if you like this, if you want me to keep that as an option. It was my way to get people involved in this, and we'll talk about it more when we get there. But let's jump right into it. First category, technical wrestling. And this is your catch as catch can, your submissions, all that rolled up into one. Basically think Daniel Bryan, think Zack Sabre Jr., that kind of a wrestler. For Sting, I'm giving him a 3. I wouldn't say he's bad. He's passable. He could do it when needed. He can break it out when it's called on him. But he's not someone I would consider as fantastic at it. And by the way, everything here is rated 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. We're going to accumulate all of these for a total at the end. It'll make more sense if you haven't watched these before. I do apologize. I usually bring that up in the beginning. Next up, as far as technical ability for The Undertaker, I'm going to give him a 3 as well. Again, can he do it? Has he been able to do it? He definitely has. But I think that it's not something that he leans on. It's not his forte. It's not his strong point. So again, he's serviceable at it, which gives him about a 3, but not great. Next up, for striking ability, for Sting, I'm giving him a 4. I think Sting's an excellent striker. There are some times where there's a little bit of holes. His back fists are a little bit weak in my opinion, but there are other times where his back fists look devastating. So for that, I'm giving him a 4. I think he's really good at that. This is where he excels in ring. For The Undertaker, this is where he excels, period. I'm giving him a 5. Undertaker is one of the most gifted strikers in the history of wrestling. I'd put him up there with Brock Lesnar, with Stan Hansen, with Big Van Vader, guys that you think of that have that bruising, beating, bludgeoning style that just come at you, hit you with their hands, kick you, clothesline you, shoulder block you. Undertaker's that kind of guy, and I think that he's probably one of the best of all time, if you ask me. Next category, how they perform as a heel. For Sting, I'm giving Sting a 2. And the reason for that is Sting has not been a heel much in his career. There's very few times. He was a quasi-heel as part of the Main Event Mafia in TNA, and very early in his career with Hot Stuff International, he was a heel in both Mid-South and WCW. However, he quickly turned face. The reason he's so low here is even during his early years, you could see that he was getting a response from the fans that was a face response. And you could see what was coming. And he was never really a focal point. He was always kind of a lackey in these roles, except for the Main Event Mafia, which everybody was equal, I guess. But for me, there's just not enough to go on here, so I'm going to have to give him a 2. And what we do have for him to go on, it wasn't great. I would say it's less than average, if you ask. Now, as far as The Undertaker being a heel, I'm giving him a 4. Undertaker falls into a lot of the same problems as Sting, where I don't think a lot of people want to see him as a heel, and there was definitely a point very early in his career where it almost became impossible for him to be a heel. However, when it was called on, like the Ministry of Darkness, which I liked his work there. The overall gimmick, maybe not so much. The overall angle, maybe not so much. Or even his early part of his career with Paul Bearer, I think he did fantastic. Now, do I think he was a top-level heel? Was he a 5? No. But he was really, really good. So for that, he gets a 4. Next up, how they perform as a face. For Sting gets a 5. He is one of the quintessential baby faces of all time. When I talk about babyface wrestlers, there's very few men that come to the top of the list. Him, Ricky Steamboat, Kofi Kingston. These are the guys I think of that are white meat baby faces, that no matter what, the fans are going to cheer them, they're going to love them, they're always going to be a face. It's going to be super hard to turn them heel and make the fans turn on them. That's why he's right up there on the top. For The Undertaker, I'm giving him a 4. I do think he was really good, and I think he is better as a face than a heel. The problem I have with The Undertaker is I respect the hell out of him and I respect his longevity, but it never felt like at any point The Undertaker was really the face of the company. And I know he was the backbone, and I know he was a solid, and I know he was always in the mix And I know his streak at WrestleMania a lot of times is more important than the main event match. But when you really go back and look at it, early in his career, Brett and Shawn are more elevated than him. Then you get into the Attitude Era. Austin and The Rock are more elevated than him. Then you get a little bit after that. Angle and Triple H are a little bit more elevated than him. Then you go after that. Cena and Batista and Orton are more elevated than him. And it's not to say that he wasn't in the mix for all these eras. Just in my opinion, he was always kind of, I don't want to say a secondary level, because he was important and he was a great star and his longevity is unmatched, especially at the high level he performed. But there was always someone, I think, that was considered more the face of the company, if that makes sense. Hence why he gets a 4. Next category, promos. For Sting, I'm giving Sting a 3. Sting was never a great promo. He could get his point across. And if you really think about it, his most memorable part of his career, Sting was silent. So that makes a point as to what we're seeing. But he did good promos as Surfer Sting. Some of it now is a little bit dated and a little bit hokey. I think as Joker Sting, he did some great promos. Even in his AEW run, I think he was pretty good. But he's never been a top-of-the-card promo guy. That's not his strong point. That's why he's right at a 3. For The Undertaker, I'm giving him a 4. Again, I don't think this is Undertaker's strong point, but I do think he's very, very good at it. Early years with the Rest in Peace, mostly Paul Bearer doing the work there. Even later on, him being the dead man and being basically the final boss. No offense to The Rock, but the guy that you have to go through to become a top guy. I thought he cut some really good promos. I think he's right up there, and the fact that he stayed in character through that entire time just makes it worth it to me, and I think that's why he's a little bit better, in my opinion, in this category. Next up is presentation. Basically, this is your ring gear, your music, everything about that, your special appearances, and how can you knock either guy? I'm giving both Sting and The Undertaker both getting 5s here. When we talk about presentation, these are two of the best presentations you'll ever see in wrestling. Either The Undertaker, that whole gimmick, his special appearances, his music is perfect, his ambiance is perfect, even the hokey stuff like the lightning and him going up to heaven, it all fit with him. With any other wrestler, you would have shit on that the moment you seen it, but with The Undertaker, it makes sense. Same with Sting. Every version of Sting, whether it be the Surfer version, the Crow version, the Joker version, the Elder Statesman version, as I guess you could say, as Darby's big brother, he was always presented as something special. He always had the high energy, high colorful outfits as a surfer. Then when he goes to the Crow and him being in the rafters, the duster jacket being lowered down, the baseball bat, the ambiance of that, everything was so great with it. I think they're both 5s in this category. I mean, I don't think anyone can argue that. Next up, charisma. For charisma, same thing. I'm going to give both these guys a 5. I think these are two of the most charismatic wrestlers of all time. There's a reason why fans of The Undertaker and fans of Sting are diehard fans and will love them till the day that they die. And a lot of that is their charisma. Both of these guys come off as something important. Both of these guys have charisma that they could probably share with other people and have given the rub to other people just being in the ring to them, whether it be Undertaker and Jeff Hardy or Sting working with Darby Allin. These guys are so charismatic and just reach out and grab the fans' attention that they gotta be 5s on this list. I mean, how can you go against that? They're both fantastic. This is why they're icons and legends. Now next up, big game performers. This is how either man performs on the biggest stage, WrestleMania, Starrcade, pay-per-view main events, house show main events, whatever it may be. First up, Sting. Sting is getting a 4. The only reason that Sting doesn't get a 5 is his booking in WCW. And that's probably not his fault, but when you start thinking of the classic Sting matches like Starrcade 97, it's a little bit disappointing. And yes, I know there's early Undertaker matches like Giant Gonzalez that aren't the greatest, but for Sting, I just think, and I don't think it's all his fault, because I do think there are times where he does give that big game performance. I just don't think he gets it every time. So again, he's getting a 4 on that. He's really good at it. I just have to give it a little bit of a knockdown, mostly because of Starrcade 97. His biggest match in his career, and I think that was a letdown. I don't think it's his fault, but I think it was a letdown, so I can't really give him that upper level 5. Now for The Undertaker, he's going to get a 5. I mean, We talk about the streak. We talk about WrestleMania, arguably the biggest event in pro wrestling. Now, whether you compare Starrcade to that or not, which Starrcade was at one point, very comparable to WrestleMania. The fact that the streak was such an important piece of WrestleMania every year, and every year he showed out, whether it be Diesel, whether it be Ric Flair, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Mark Henry, any of the number of fantastic matches he had, any of the number of matches that could be considered all-time greats. I mean, that's why he gets a 5. This is where he excels his best. Now, normally, on my previous videos that I've done in this format, that would be my last category. I decided to add one to give you guys a voice. So I put up a poll on my community page, which I'm going to put another one up on Wednesday, so look out for that Wednesday. That way it gives a few days to vote, and basically ask your opinion. And based off of that, you could get 5 bonus points to the wrestler that wins the poll. So this could swing somebody to win that may not have won necessarily, came from behind, broken a tie, because on a couple of these I've had tiebreakers. So this to me was the easiest way to think of a tiebreaker. It also involved you guys out there. So for that, the results of our fan poll, the person getting 5 bonus points, The Undertaker. At the time I'm recording this has, I think, 370 votes or more than that. And probably by the time you see this, there'll be even more because people will still be voting before this comes up. And at that point, it was basically 70% Undertaker. So yeah, I have to give it to the guy. Now, it's not even close in your eyes. So Undertaker does get the 5 bonus points. So let's go into the final tally. For Sting gets a total of 31, and for The Undertaker gets 4. Obviously, The Undertaker picks up the win here. Based on this, Undertaker is the better of the two. And as you can see, even if you take the bonus points away, Undertaker still would have won. Not that both men aren't great, it's just in this instance, Undertaker is a bit better. But let me know what you think. Do you like the idea of the fan vote being an extra bonus? Do you think it kind of cheapens the rest of the ratings because it could totally swing it? Let me know what you think down here in the comments. Should I keep the fan vote? Should I get rid of it? Let me know down here in the comments. Maybe I should tweak it. I don't know. Maybe 5 points is too big of a swing. Maybe it should be 3. Maybe it should be 1. You let me know down here in the comments what you think. Again, Undertaker picks up the win on this one. And as with the last one, I'm going to give a little tease on my next one. My next one is going to be, and I'm not going to get more specific than that, it's going to be any group that may have held this up. Now, whether that's officially, not officially, in front of the camera, behind the camera, whether it be the horsemen or horsewomen, it might be one of the groups that are considered synonymous with the number 4. But anyway, I digress. Let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. My name is George Coles, and you've been watching Who Was Better.